Welcome, everyone, to Well, That's Horrific, a podcast about anything and everything horror. My name is Mr. S.
And I'm Tom Cruise.
And welcome. I hope everybody had a great weekend. First things first, we would like to thank everybody who's been, with us from the very beginning, or just tuned in. We recently broke a little record of our own for 1,500 downloads, which may not seem like a lot to some people, but to us it's a lot. Trust me, when you're behind the scenes here, you put in all the work and like you recording the episodes and putting it together and trying to share it and all that stuff. It's like it's a satisfying and rewarding feeling. So thank you for everyone who's also downloaded and blew up our last episode about Halloween Ends. That has been a hit for us. It has over 125 downloads. And it has a couple of, I think 2 or 3 of our videos on social media has went over 10,000 views. And a lot of people have been sharing their insights. And that is, music to our ears. That's something that we want to see. We've mentioned that we want to engage with everybody and kind of see what everyone's thinking about our thoughts and their thoughts and how could they done things differently, yada, yada. And also, it's an hour and 27 minutes that episode was. And the fact that people sat through there and kind of share their own insights, says a lot about the movie itself, but also about what we had to say. So again, we're just very appreciative today. So thank you again to everyone.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for listening, tuning in, sharing your opinions, reposting, retweeting. Really appreciate it. Like you mentioned, it's a lot of work behind the scenes and we're making progress little by little. So any view, anything, very appreciated.
Yes, thank you. With that being said, this week we're going to start off our episode with Terrifier. Terrifier 2 has been gaining some recognition, good and bad. I can't say just flat out good.
I don't think I've heard any bad recognition. Even the bad recognition is good.
No. When I say bad, I'm talking about the people having seizures and throwing up and fainting and all that stuff.
I feel like that's part of the promotion, no? Maybe not the seizures. You don't want anybody to have a seizure, but
right.
I think even the whole vomiting in a movie theater, I think they use that to their benefit because, well, again, as somebody who had never seen these movies, or I never had even seen the first one, you have to know what you're watching at this point, especially if you're watching Terrifier 2, right? If you've seen the first one, then what do you expect, right?
Right. So that's the thing that I was going to add to this too. It's when I see a headline in anything, whether it's a news article or whatever it is, in this case, people vomiting and throwing up, I always question it. I never really take the headline and run with it. To me, if you are a person that threw up, or I'm not trying to downplay it, I promise you. It's just if you are a person that threw up or fainted or even had a seizure, then you probably did not know what you were walking into, and you probably weren't aware of horror movies before you walked into this one. I think you just probably
not necessarily horror movies. I wouldn't say that. I mean, you weren't aware of what you were watching for sure. Because if you had seen Terrifier 1,
horror, to me, it was just it was we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth, but I saw those scenes, and yeah, they were definitely gut-wrenching and very disturbing, but I just kept saying, wow, the special effects seems great. I didn't really take it the way some people did.
Yeah, but I guess to my previous point is I don't think any of that was necessarily bad press, because I think even the fact that it was making people throw up or whatever was actually causing more people to go watch it. It was breaking records, or at least for an indie movie, I believe. In terms of how much it sold, it was ridiculous. It outsold the first one by a lot. I don't even know if the first one even made it to... I don't think the first one even went to theaters. I'm actually looking it up right now to see what was the budget on this movie. Because I can tell you right now, the movie has made over $5 million. That movie did not cost anything close to that.
Yeah. You're talking about the first one or the second one?
The second one. The second one was made with $250K, and it made $5 million. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if a third movie is announced immediately.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying anything bad about the press. I'm just saying the headlines itself is don't be alarmed. I look at it and I laugh. I don't know. I laugh.
I did have a coworker who said, oh, I don't know if I want to watch the movie because I've heard, people throwing up in the movie theater. But I felt like for the audience of this movie, them hearing that is like music to their ears. Like, I want to go watch this because if people are getting sick, that means it's really good. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I just have a twisted mind.
No, I'm with you. I've said the same thing, which is why we watched it. But there's some people who, like my wife, for instance, is like, yeah, you shouldn't watch that. You know, it's like a little. The headline can make or break you going to watch the film. But in our like case, being horror fans, we're like, fuck it, let's go. So
I have the hottest of takes when it comes to Terrifier 2, though. If you allow me to begin.
Go. I give you the spotlight right now. Go ahead. Intrigue me.
Yeah, so as somebody who had never seen... I knew very little about Art the Clown, very little about Terrifier. We spoke about Terrifier previously on the podcast. We mentioned, it originally came from another movie that was very similar. All Hallows Eve was the like... was it like different cassettes, different mini stories, and Art the Clown was one of them. I've yet to see that movie, so full disclaimer, I have not seen All Hallows Eve, but I have seen Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2. Going into this, of course, Terrifier 2, everybody's talking about it. It has good ratings. I started watching Terrifier 1. Terrifier 1, a lot of things I really enjoyed. I soon realized what I was watching. It's for people who love gore. If that's your thing, this is your movie, 100%. Right. And in terms of the actual movie itself, you can tell it's an independent movie. You can tell it's very low budget. You mentioned to me the acting was very bad, but I was okay with the acting considering what I was watching. It's one of those things where, like, I know I'm watching an indie film and I know the budget isn't anything crazy. Maybe, I don't know, my mind does a thing where, like, I try to justify it based off, like, if I'm watching an 80s movie, I know I'm watching an 80s movie, so I can't judge the acting.
Of course.
So, in this sort of context, I knew it was a low budget movie, and I knew that the main thing of the movie was like the kills, and I don't know, I guess for the same reason, somebody would go say, I like this movie because it had really good kills and they don't really care about the story or anything else. That's the same reason you would watch something like Terrifier, because all you really care about is Art the Clown and what he's doing. And in terms of the performance of Art the Clown himself, excuse me, because I don't remember his name, the actor you mentioned him.
David Howard Thorne.
Yeah, David Howard Thorne. Great performance as Art the Clown. Honestly, I think he might be the best horror clown that I've seen in any movie. I would rank him above even the clown from It. What's his name? Pennywise. I would rank him above that in terms of creepiness.
Okay, I'm just gonna pause you right there. I'm gonna let you continue, but I want you to know that you have a good friend in me, because what you just said is the reason why a lot of people like kills that you don't really appreciate.
No, I know. So I was actually gonna mention that, but I didn't want to sub you in a way. I didn't want to say. I'm saying, but to your argument, if all you care about is kills, then yes, you're gonna like Halloween Kills. But then you don't care about the movie itself, is what I'm saying.
All right. You
understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but we'll continue that conversation later. But go ahead, because you're saying a lot of good things about Art the Clown that I'm agreeing with.
I just want to be clear. I was well aware that you were going to connect those two dots. I was just saying, yes, if you don't care about the movie and all you care about the kills, then yes, you just have to go into it with that sort of mindset.
That's not what you're saying, though. That's not what you're saying.
Okay, fine.
Okay, we'll jump to that later.
Okay, so I'm watching the movie. Art the Clown is super creepy. There are a lot of elements where, like, yes, the acting is bad, but at least the atmosphere and the creepiness and the eeriness of it made sense with the bad acting. That's how I felt about it. And then in terms of the effects, I thought it was great, especially considering what the movie itself was. It didn't have a very high budget. And then I thought the first one, even though I saw the twist coming from a mile away, I saw the twist of like the beginning of the movie being the end of the movie. We've seen that done in a lot of movies already. I saw that twist coming. I was like, okay, this is going to be the final girl that ends up surviving at the end. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Terrifier 1. And I was like, okay, this is what it is. I thought it was okay. I thought it was, if this is the sort of movie you like, you will enjoy this.
I agree.
I know I mentioned it to you, and you kind of, you went into the acting. Going into Terrifier 2, the first thing I noticed is like, okay, they're doing a little bit, they're exploring the lore. It's almost like when like they do with every sort of chapter 2 of anything, right? You can't just repeat the same formula. You have to, have something new. And they did that with Terrifier 2, where now there's a lore. There's the creepiness of the, where this is Art the Clown from? the connection to this girl who somehow her dad, knew that she was going to be the one to finish him, and that's where it disconnected for me. That's where it was more so like, I don't know if I appreciate this much as the simplicity of the first movie.
Okay, so right, so I agree with a lot of things that you're saying, right? I think for me, the first movie, obviously, was a little bit more, I think, weird compared to the second one. It didn't feel as much of a movie as the second one did, like a complete movie. And the reason why I say this is because there's so many elements of mystery in the first one that kind of benefit the movie, but also kind of ask a lot of questions about the movie. And again, this is what we expect with indie films, right? There's not a lot of attention to detail to the actual story. You have a weird, creepy, mysterious clown that, by the way, is freaking scary as shit. And he's going around killing people, and you think that this final girl is going to be the final girl, but she's not. Like, I predicted what you predicted. I knew the beginning was going to be the end, but I also thought that girl Tara in the first one was going to be that girl in the beginning. But because they didn't say the names were different, I was like, what the hell is going on here? There's no way, But then, whatever, you tie things together. Here's my thing. The second movie, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched it. I mean, spoiler disclaimer is always the case here, but I really thought this movie saw the attention it got from the first movie and said, you know what? We're going to do what we're doing with the gore, but let's add some story to it. Let's try to make it also interesting, because we can't just give the people the same thing on the first one, which they did. I want to say like 3/4 into the movie, maybe not even, a little bit more than half, it lost me. Like, it lost me in terms of, like, what was going on. Things weren't making sense. And, like, I started questioning myself. Like, you talk about suspense of disbelief to prepare yourself for a certain type of movie, right? I don't know if I can apply that here, because there's certain things that just also don't make sense to me. Like a lot of things don't make sense to me. Like, you mentioned the father, for instance, how, like, he predicted he was going to kill her. But then you have the kid who's talking about, look at daddy's sketches. And I understand that he had a lot of delusions and, all these psychosis, he was obviously sick, but he's also drawing sketches of Art the Clown, which leads you to believe that he's somehow part of it, part of him. And, like,
he drew the murders from the first movie too.
Exactly, which makes you believe, like, if you want to really look at it, dive deep into it, like, yo, is he the clown? But then you start asking yourself, but he gave her a sword and made her the character to defeat the clown, and it's like you start thinking, all right, which side am I taking here with the father? Because I don't know what's going on. Also, like, the synopsis is, after being resurrected by a sinister entity, Art the Clown returns to the timid town of Miles County, where he targets a teenage girl and blah blah blah. What's that entity?
Yeah, I didn't read that. I didn't get that. I just figured he was supernatural.
I get how the first movie ended. I get it. I get how
I do like to your point, I like the first act of the movie a lot. I like the whole him coming back and everything. But when you start diving into the lore is where it loses me. Like, I don't know if that's what you're getting into too, but like, the whole thing of like his background. I did like the little girl. I like a lot of the stuff that was mysterious. I didn't
understand the little girl. I did not understand her.
She was
purpose.
Just somebody else who went. I don't know. I don't understand. She was in his head, right? She wasn't real, but at the same time, everybody else saw her.
If she was in his head, then why could
everybody
Sienna and her brother see her as well? And how? Like, is it in their head? I get it. Like, she was on Molly and Xanax. By the way, the worst best friend she's ever had. Like, anyone could ever have. It's terrible. But like.
But then why did the little kid see him?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how does that make sense? Like I don't know. I was trying to really
maybe
put it together.
Guys, before we even go like any further, please let us know if we're missing something in this movie, because we might be. Maybe we there's a huge plot point that connects all these dots that we're missing, but I don't know. I feel like the lore lost me, and I get it that you want to, you can't do the same thing, but I think I appreciate the mysteriousness and the simplicity of the first movie a little bit more.
I agree. I think I agree with you. And also, the first movie benefits the fact that they didn't have the stupid and annoying mother in the second movie. My God, I don't know about you, but the mother in this movie, the second movie, is just absolutely terrible. Her acting was just so generic. Her character was dumb as a mother. It's just, I don't know, man. I didn't like anything about
I kept on waiting for the redeeming moment, and it never came.
Yeah,
It's
man.
one of those things like she was a bitch throughout the entire movie up until they killed her. Like they didn't even give her a moment to like have that
she's
sort
a
of redemption.
mother. She's a
Yeah,
mother. I thought it was the moment where like she called her sister and she's like, "I love you" or something.
yeah.
I mean, she called
Her
her
daughter.
daughter.
Yeah,
She's like, "I love you." I'm like, "All right, fine, cool," but that was it. I was like, "Look,
yeah.
like
There was
two
nothing there.
seconds." Yeah,
She didn't believe anything in the kid. And she actually thought the kid would do all of that to the car and everything. I
yeah.
don't know.
I think what I have here too is like I think art has these powers that we can't explain, and like we're as an audience we're forced to accept them. Like he kind of gives me elements of Freddy Krueger.
No,
Like
100%,
he
100%.
yeah.
I I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, go
I
ahead.
got that vibe with the intro of the first movie. You remember how the first movie
Yeah,
starts?
yeah,
They're in. He's like grabbing all the tools. If you go back and watch it on Emma on Elm Street,
yeah, yeah,
he's making the glove. There was
yeah.
definitely some homage paid there in the atmosphere of the first movie and even some of the second movie. He does have Freddy Krueger vibes in terms of like some sort of nightmare.
1,000%. And not only that, but he's also coming in people's dreams because like he comes in Sienna's dream and kills all those kids, and then later in the end scene, she gets stabbed by him. She's in like this submissive water tank. I don't know what you want to call that, and she sees all the kids like dead there, and he's there. Like so, like that obviously shows us that like he's not a human being. So if they ever do proceed with the franchise, I don't think that he's gonna be like some guy. There has to be he's supernatural. You know,
No,
there's no way.
100% he's supernatural.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think the lores will confuse me. All of that what you're mentioning, like even that
yeah.
her falling down to that hole, I don't know what that was, and then she was in the water tank, and then she's having a dream. I don't know. It was a little bit too.
You had
I
to
don't
keep
know.
up with it. You had to keep
Yeah.
up with it. Like what is going on, and that's the thing. I like this movie. I like the way this movie was headed better than the first one. I'll admit, in the sense that it had a story going for them, and like I think Sienna, the main girl, what is her name? Lauren Lavera. I thought she did a great job for the role
Yeah.
that she had, and like I was like, okay, like they obviously really trying to make this big, like maybe like go down in history as one of like a classics, you know, but. It's just the second half just really like kind of just dropped the ball OD for me, and like to your point, like the lore, like did you see the end credit scene? Do you know that there was an end credit scene?
I did not. I completely missed the end credit scene. What's the end credit scene?
There is an end credit scene with Chris Jericho. Yes, the wrestler, the former WWE wrestler, now AEW
Oh
wrestler.
yes, I saw his name in the
Jericho.
titles, and
Yeah, I saw his name on the title too, and I'm waiting. I'm like, yo, maybe there's just some different guy that's like his name is Chris Jericho, and I'm like, the ending's here. And I wasn't gonna watch it. Like I was gonna skip and see if there was one. I was just like, no wait. But then there was one. So Chris Jericho is a nurse. Yeah, he's working the graveyard shift with another nurse, and they're watching the what's her name, Vicky. Vicky is the survivor from the first movie with her face all deformed, and she starts like throwing up. Vicky, she starts throwing up, and she's like spilling blood out of her privates, and she gives birth to Art the Clown's head. You know the head that she decapitated, Sienna?
Yeah.
You know the girl, like the little girl picked it up and ran away with it?
Yeah.
She like gives birth to it, and then she's like licking it, and then like the nurse walks in on her, and she like yelling, and like her eye is like glowing like the little girl's. So I guess they're trying to push and say maybe that's the little girl's mother, or I that's what I'm saying. I don't understand it. Like I get it. It's gory. It's nasty. It's gut wrenching, like I mentioned before.
I gotta go back and watch that now.
It doesn't make sense. Chris Jericho does a good. It's like a 4-minute scene, 4 or 5 minute scene. It's not like just 1 minute. And like Chris Jericho does a good job. He's just talking with the nurse, and like she's kind of and the nurse is kind of like humming the song, which I really enjoyed actually. Because food is kind of fun. No, because food is kind of funny at the Clown Cafe, right?
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. So she's like humming it, and like she's explaining her story, and then that happens. So I guess that is some justification for the little girl, because throughout the whole movie, I'm like, why is this girl here? Why
but the little
is this
girl, wasn't
here?
she somebody else who went missing in the carnival or died?
I heard she was murdered in carnivals, but still, the way they did it, like you don't even find that out in the end, and like it's just.
I like the way the little girl looks in terms of like the creepiness.
Yeah, she's definitely creepy. She just doesn't. She doesn't really move me. I didn't know what was going on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the movie itself, the special effects team I told you, is really great. They did a great job because the kills are brutal. The kills are
No,
freaking
yeah, the
brutal.
kills. If you're watching the movie, that's what you're in for, and
Yeah,
like the kills are brutal. They definitely top the first movie in terms of kills,
yeah,
but they both
yeah,
have pretty gory kills.
yeah,
Like you got to be aware of what you're watching 100% if you're gonna go watching, if you're
yeah.
gonna watch these movies. Like just the thought of what you just described,
Right.
like imagine that.
I was I was under the impression that the kid right here, I thought that he was going to be like, because he was like so into like the story of the clown, and so he was so into like horror and like kills and stuff like that. I thought the way his body was, how lengthy and skinny he was, I was thinking he was going to be like a replication of art. You know, I really thought that they were doing something with that, and then he just like completely 180. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I know that threw me
I
off too.
fail there, but it's good. I mean, it's not bad.
It's not
a
bad.
good film, and it takes place in New York, and I do love the store Abracadabra. It's in New York City. If you ever
Yeah.
want to go Halloween shopping, there used to be a store called Halloween Adventures. It was open but 6 days of the year, but they closed it down now permanently, which is
I did like
terrible.
that they mentioned that abracadabra.
Yeah. Poor guy, the clerk. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like this is one of those movies that just you get this and not that. Does that make sense? You get the kills but not the story, you know? And if you are getting a story, whatever it is, just accept it. Like you mentioned, suspense of disbelief, just accept it because it is what it is. This movie got a lot of high praise. A lot of people did enjoy it. It definitely is successful so far. I do want to say that if the movie continued the way it did the first half, I would have liked it a lot more than the first one. But because of the way the second half played out, I like the first one a lot better.
And I thought I was the one that had the hot take. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the first one more, and as a totality of a movie,
Yeah.
I thought the first one had. I mean, I thought the second one had better kills.
Yeah. People don't
But
agree
yeah,
with us, at least. I know they don't.
I know.
People like the second one more.
But
And I thought I was
think,
going to also.
yeah, I just think that I'm actually surprised you liked the first one, considering you really didn't like the acting. I just
Okay, let's be honest though. The acting was terrible.
no,
The
it
act-
was.
in-
It was.
In the first
it was.
one, it was
but
terrible.
it fit the movie like it fit what I was watching. I don't know.
It fit what you're watching, but to my defense, this movie didn't have great actors either. Besides the main girl and the brother, probably. Like
Yeah.
no one else was great.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just it's terrible. Like the first movie had, like I told you, the mysterious elements that can make a movie or break a movie. In this case, it kind of made it more than it broke it. And like you really just didn't know what was happening, who this clown was, and like who's gonna be the final. Because once that girl Tara died in the first one, I'm just like, yo, what's left of this movie? Like, what's the story? You know? And then that's what happened. And like the kills are great in the first one too, especially that one when she's hanging upside down and you kind of like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This one too. This one has some sad kills, man. Especially her friend Annie. I think her name was Annie, and like that's another thing that bothers me about these people. It's like I feel like art is so easy to escape.
Yeah.
Like-
He's such an idiot, and
Yeah,
he still
and,
manages
like-
to do everything.
Yeah, but praise to David Howard Thornton. He freaking embraced this role. Like I think you have to be mentally prepared to act out the role that he just acted out. Like just with like the movements and like the laughing and just like the gore and just it's like damn, bro. Like he got messy. He got messy in this movie for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you 100%. I thought, like I mentioned, that this might be the scariest clown I've seen in anything.
Yeah, for real, man. I don't really have anything else to say about it unless you want to give it a rating right now, but
I don't know where I stand in terms of ratings, but that's pretty much all I had. I definitely do say, like, if you're into gore, you're gonna love this. I don't
for
regret
sure.
watching it. I think it was worth a watch.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm excited to see what they do moving forward, regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of people liked it. Like Tommy said, like if you like gore, just continue on. It was good. The gore was good, but the movie itself was alright. I give like a 5-6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Enjoy, people. Enjoy this terrible, disgusting movie. Moving on. there's something that you wanted to mention, right?
There's a couple things, man. Where do you want to start here?
I guess we can talk about what's kind of hot right now on Netflix.
Netflix is killing it, by the way.
Yo, Netflix is like
there's three things
shit.
the three things that I want to talk about are all on Netflix.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out.
No, Netflix is doing it, and I'm happy for them because I feel like they're like the first kind of streaming service that started these things, and like it's been getting like a lot of heat recently, whatever. But what I don't like is that all these freaking streaming services are like increasing their prices, and like Netflix, I think was saying starting February. I fact check me on this, but they're gonna start charging for an extra user on your account because people are sharing their passwords.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yo, like, what if I want to watch something at work, at home, or something? It's just terrible. But anyway, Netflix making a comeback. They have a show that's hot right now called The Watcher. Now, yes, perfect. As you can see behind Tommy there, that's the house, The Watcher. That house, this series is based on a true story. It's about a family that moves into a house, and they receive a letter in the mail essentially saying there's someone watching that is obsessed with this house and is watching everything that they do, and they're obviously creeped out, and things start to happen to them that they're a little bit uncomfortable with. The scariest part, I think the thing that makes this like 10 times better, is the fact that it's based on a true story. I think the house is located in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I am not entirely sure. I don't. Yeah. I'm not sure. I just know that it was based on a true story. I've actually only seen episode 1, so full disclaimer here. I'm still watching this. I've only seen the first episode, but I'm very, very intrigued, even after just watching one episode. So, I will say, I was sold maybe like 30 minutes in. Pretty much as the moment they received the first letter, I was sold, and then there's another letter that arrives, and I was like, all right, this is it.
I full disclaimer on my end, I have watched half of the first episode. Again, we understand that it's something hot. We will watch all the episodes and we'll dive deep into it one episode, probably like in the near future, like 2 weeks from now, 1 or 2, who knows. But yeah, like you mentioned, I'm going to give it to you because I didn't really finish the whole episode just yet, but I don't even care if you like ruin it for me because I'm going to watch it anyway. So tell me your thoughts on it,
Very ambiguous. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. So it's like it plays with this element of like but you don't know, and then there's a whole bunch of red herrings where you get the first note, right? Again, context. They moved into this house. They had to actually do a couple. He basically did everything that he could do to get this house, this big house for his family. This is him, his wife.
Which surprised me because I thought he was rich.
Yeah. And he has 2 kids, right? He has a boy and a girl.
Right.
And they receive a letter saying somebody has been this house basically has been watched for a long time now, and somebody's actively watching them. And then the ambiguity comes with all the stuff that's happening with the environment, all the stuff that's happening with the neighbors, one set of neighbors on one side, the other set of neighbors on the other side. There's a lot of things that are happening. The little boy has a ferret, and even the ferret gets killed at one point. Spoiler for you. So like you don't know what's going on. They have a dumbwaiter, which I said this as I was watching the movie. I was like, if I moved into a house and it had a dumbwaiter, I am immediately destroying the dumbwaiter. I'm cutting the rope. I'm blocking that shit up with cement. I don't want that.
I know, but
I've seen enough horror movies.
Traditional and antique about it. It's like, bro, you gotta. I think of H2O.
I've seen enough horror movies. I'm pretty sure they use it in The Conjuring or something. I've seen enough horror movies to know if there's a dumbwaiter, either I'm not moving into the house or I'm blocking it off with cement. There's no way that thing is moving up and down.
That's hilarious.
So like, there's even a point in the very first episode. Again, spoiler if you haven't seen it. Again, this is very minor spoilers, but there's a point in the very first episode where little kid is just walking through and he goes to use the dumbwaiter, and then one of the neighbors is inside the dumbwaiter. It scares the crap out of him. Like, and then apparently, this neighbor, he might be he is special needs, and his wife, I believe, or I'm not sure if it's his wife or his sister or the person who he lives with, who also is the neighbor, meets him outside and basically tells the father here that all the residents of the house that have lived there before, everybody who's lived there before have allowed him to play with this dumbwaiter. It's like, and he has the same reaction that you just had the reaction that everybody has. It's like, who would allow a stranger to play with with anything in their house, like,
Bro.
let alone a dumbwaiter going up and down? And apparently they've all not had a problem with this before. So it's very interesting. And then there's
go ahead.
no, continue. I was like, there's just a lot of ambiguity where you you don't know where to look. You don't know. There's a lot of red herrings here. There's another situation that happens with the other set of neighbors.
Yeah,
it's very interesting, and I don't know where it's going.
I think the element is pretty spooky, pretty eerie. That's what I appreciate. I definitely am going to finish, and I think this is something you and I are probably going to do. We most definitely will do. Is we're gonna watch all of them, all the episodes, talk about it, go more in depth, and then also compare it to what actually happened in real life. Just to see, obviously, like, what is different, what they added, because we know they added things.
No, they always have to.
And then just think about, like, if something like that happens in real life, how eerie that can be, man. Think about it. Like
100%.
That is insane.
To make matters worse, the reason I mentioned that I was sold on this after the first letter, because they do something very specific here, right? When they receive the first letter, the daughter begins to read it, and then they take the letter away from the daughter, and it skips to another scene where they're in the car now. When I say there, I mean the mother and father. They're in the car and they're reading the letter, and it's the wife that's reading the letter, but the letter itself is being narrated by the person you believe is the watcher. So it has this different voice.
Is it like deep, like?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a different voice that is reading it, and it's a very creepy voice. And they do the same thing when it plays out at the end. Now, the second letter that they receive, which is right before the ending of the episode, is super creepy, because now basically the watcher lets them know that he knows the kids' names. He has details and things of, like, what window, who stays in what bedroom, who looks in, like, what windows facing what direction. There's details in this letter that now suggest that this person's really watching them. Like, the first one could have been like a joke, right? It could have been a prank, which is what the cops say initially. The second one is like, no, now this is serious. This is a full-blown stalker. And the father is like, he has the reaction that we would have again. He's going around the entire house. He's having a panic attack. You see him in the middle of the street with the note in his hand as he was reading it, and you see the wife's reaction. He doesn't even have to tell her, like, we got the letter. She just sees his reaction with a letter in the hand, and she starts immediately freaking out because she knows this is serious now.
Yeah, so that the way they do that's like makes it seem so real. Like, exactly. You're a part of that. Like, that can happen to you. That's like the human nature reaction, And I'm for it. I'm absolutely for it. I can't wait to watch it. So in fact, I fact checked myself. So the Watcher house is actually located in Westfield, Rye, New York. So yeah, which is a great area too. I've definitely, have seen houses on Westfield for sale just for fun, for life goals. But I can't wait. So if you've seen it already, be on the lookout for our episode, and just also share your thoughts and comment on what you like, what you don't like, and anything else that you want to add. We can move on from that. Fun fact, Tommy, I watched a movie called Watcher, the 2022 film, the girl from It Follows. You should watch that.
Oh, add it to the list. I have not watched that. Yeah. Now, before we move on, right, or as we're moving on, I want to talk about another Netflix show. Actually, I want to talk about two other Netflix shows, if you allow me to.
Please.
So we have The Midnight Club. So this is another Mike Flanagan show. Now, remember I mentioned before, Mike Flanagan is in everything, man. And everything is on Netflix. He did...
is his wife in this one?
I don't know. I haven't seen her yet. So, again, I'm a really big fan of all his shows.
Yeah.
From The Haunting of Hill House to the more recent one. I forgot what was the name of it. But he also has a whole bunch of movies. And this one is a little bit different, but it's very, very interesting. It's based on a book, so keep that in mind. So it's based on a book, and it has the same premise. So I'll go ahead and read the plot synopsis. It's Rotterdam Home, a hospice where teenagers with terminally ill illnesses... with terminal illnesses went to die, was a home of a midnight club, a group of 5 young men and women who met at midnight and told stories of intrigue and horror. So that's pretty much the general plot, right? They're at a hospice. They all have terminal illnesses, and they all meet up at night and just tell horror stories. Now, there's another theme going on. There are real things going on in the house, but that's the general theme. Each one of them has a different story. I've seen the first 2 episodes of this, and you can get to see the story of 2 of the characters. It's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And as I saw it, I was like, okay, is this like a teenager sort of thing? Is it like going to be like a CW show? Because I see, it's a group of teenagers, but it actually, I think I would feel like I feel like it starts that way, but then it's as you keep watching it, it gets more and more interesting, and it loses that tone. Now I'm more watching it for the sake of the stories.
Interesting. So I feel like for this, from what you're describing, it seems like I might have to prepare my mind for it, because I feel like it's gonna make you think, because they're also terminally ill, which means that there's so many different stories, and you got to see why one could be lying or telling it a certain way, right? Am I close at least?
Yes and no, because we do have one character who we are told is like a pathological liar. However, everybody else just has like lymphoma, for example, or some sort of cancer, or things like that. Where like it's not necessarily to say that they wouldn't lie, but a lot of them is how they interpret the illness that they have sometimes.
Interesting.
Some of the things are other events that have happened in this same hospice, and I don't know. I find it very, very interesting. And again, I'm only 2 episodes in. Out of all these shows that I've watched, so I started watching The Watcher first, and then I saw this, and then there's another show that I'll get to, but this one was the one that after watching 1 episode, I was like, okay, I have to watch another one just to like fully understand if I'm going to continue to watch it. And after watching the 2nd episode, I was like, okay, I think this is interesting. I'll continue to watch this.
Okay.
The Watcher, I was, I know I'm going to watch another episode, but this one, it's not that it wasn't like, it didn't hook me. It was just I wasn't sure about it after 1 episode, but after 2, I was definitely sure.
That's fine. Like I'll allow that, because the first episodes, like pilot episodes, is always a little slower, introducing characters and the story and the setting and everything.
Exactly. I think that's pretty much it. Is that it doesn't start here. It doesn't start in this scene, for example. The scene that you see behind me is the actual Midnight Club. It has to get there. It has to get there, and once it gets there, then you're like, okay. And it stars Heather Langenkamp, which is from A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the show that I was telling you about.
Oh, no way!
Yes.
Main.
Nancy.
Final girl. Yeah, final girl from like first Nightmare on Elm Street, the one who you whacked the fucker and we got him.
Yeah. So she's like the head, whatever you want to call her, let's say the principal of this hospice, whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Midnight Mass is the one that Mike Flanagan came out on Netflix. I saw the first 4 episodes, and then I just never continued it. I'll be honest, I liked it, I thought it was cool, but then it got too religious. Like, you know what? Whatever. But okay.
Well, that's a tough one to start with. If you haven't seen the other ones, I would highly recommend The Haunting of Hill House. Okay. The Haunting of Hill House, then there's The Haunting of Bly Manor. But I would say start with The Haunting of Hill House if you haven't seen that. But yeah, he has a lot of horror projects. And I'm actually excited that he did something different and something like this is not like original, right? He's adapting this from a book, and I'm excited that he's doing that instead of making his own thing. Not to say that I don't like his own thing, but I'm just interested to see how he adapts something like a book.
Right. Okay. Cool. What else you got?
Yep, we got Guillermo del Toro, who made this is The Cabinet of Curiosities. Not to be confused with the podcast by the same name by Aaron Mankey, who's the guy who makes Lore. I originally thought it was in some sort of adaptation of that. Now, this is basically the same idea, though. So, Guillermo del Toro, we know him from Pan's Labyrinth and a couple other things. He's exploring this idea of different horror stories, and every episode is like its own mini movie. It's actually very, very interesting, and it's very high quality for something that where like every single episode is its own thing. I was not expecting it to be this. I don't know. It really feels like every episode is a movie, I would say. So it doesn't feel like a TV show, even though obviously it is. It's just every episode is its own different thing. Yeah, I would say if you love Guillermo del Toro, this is gonna fall, right on your lap. This is very interesting, very unique, I would say. Again, if you like Pan's Labyrinth, obviously he did Hellboy, The Shape of Water. He wrote that. what else did he work on? Oh, the perfect one. Scary stories to tell in the dark. If you like all that sort of thing, this is gonna fall right down your alley. If you want to see monsters and things like that, this is right. This is for you.
Okay.
And this came out like 2 days ago, actually.
Interesting. I definitely will take a look at it. It sounds very. This one sounds like you're gonna have to prepare your head for it. If every episode's gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah, I would say just watch the trailer for this, and you'll know what you're watching. You'll know if you're gonna like the episodes or if you're gonna want to watch it for sure.
Interesting. Okay.
I only saw the first episode, but I was sold immediately. I was like, okay, this is like the perfect Halloween vibe. If you want to just sit back and enjoy some a little bit of everything, you like Trick or Treat or those sort of anthologies and short stories where like you get to see vampires, werewolves, mummies, a little bit of everything. This is that sort of thing, and I think it's perfect the way that they released it. It's a couple days out before Halloween. If you want to play something during Halloween that has a little bit of everything, this is gonna be it. And it's not too. It's not like super scary or anything like that, but it's what Guillermo del Toro is famously known for.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thank you for putting that on my radar and on everybody else's radar. And Speaking of Halloween, you're probably going to listen to this on Halloween, so happy Halloween to everybody out there. Yes. Probably the best day of the year.
I would argue that, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, without question. And wait a minute, tomorrow for me, but a day before for people on Monday, right? October 29th. What's October 29th?
That may or may not be my birthday.
Oh my God! What a time! What a time! Think about it, man. If you were born October 31st, just 2 days later, you couldn't hold on. That would be sick, bro.
I mean, it's close enough, man. It's close enough. I love the season not only because it's my birthday, but the celebrations and everything that come. Costumes, spookiness, the atmosphere. I think it's perfect. I
think it's probably one of the best. I think this, especially I remember it so much as a kid too, and being involved in that way, making you like your imagination is just endless with possibilities, and then you grow up like we are now, and you still have attachment to it. Like you said, the costumes, the festivity itself is just it's really something great to have moving forward, and it is probably the best day of the year. I really think so. So happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes. Happy Halloween, everyone.
I don't know if there is anything else to mention. I know American Horror Story came out, but I also know it's getting bad reviews. I'm going to give it a couple of episodes.
I have not seen anything yet. There's also Chucky.
Chucky, yes. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, so with shows, I think it's best if we could always talk about the first episode, and then either like a mid-season finale or a season finale, we kind of wrap everything up. Unless it's like a really great episode, we really want to talk about it, But
and I know you watch Walking Dead, man. I feel like I've seen these Walking Dead promos forever. Has the show ended yet?
It's about to. It's done.
It's been about to end for like a year now.
Yeah,
the final episode of Walking Dead.
Yeah, I got to catch up with some stuff also, man. But it's never gonna end, man. Like the show itself will end, but the spin-offs and whatnot.
No, of course.
It's not gonna end. But what a time! What a time to be alive, everybody. Yeah, I think that's it on my end. We talked about Halloween and how Halloween Kills is better. It ends. What else did we talk about?
All right, guys. If you want to see that debate finally settled, let us know so we can make a whole episode about it. I don't know if I'm ready to do it. I don't know if I'm ready to do it. I don't know if I'm ready. I've gotten 2 white hairs on my beard from arguing with Mr. S here. I don't know if I want to do it.
If you want a full episode of me explaining to this guy why Halloween Kills is better than Halloween Ends, let me know, man. I'm ready for that. I've been ready. He's scared to test me because he knows he's gonna lose.
Here's my answer. Here's my answer to that. Right. I think we should do an episode. I just don't think it should be now. I think there's recency bias considering Ends just came out. Let's give it a year. Let's talk about this a year from now, and we'll talk about what's better. I'm confident in my argument, and I know you're confident in yours. I just think, obviously, recency bias. Ends just came out. Let's let everything settle, and then we'll have that discussion.
Yeah,
I think it's too early to have that debate.
Okay, fine. One thing I do want to say is that John Carpenter, you sent me this, and my brother sent me this. He was talking about Halloween Ends and how it was absolutely perfect. I'm just gonna read you the quote here if you don't mind. 1 second here. He said, And I quote, give me a second. Technical difficulties. Okay. He said, this one's totally different movie. Very different. And it's like a puzzle to figure out how to put the thing together. But David Gordon Green did and did it well. It was good. I enjoyed it. It's very different. I enjoyed the risk that it took. Jamie Lee Curtis was just extraordinary in it. She's just wonderful. I'm so proud of her. Yeah, I agree with like 70% of what he said, though. I will. Jamie Lee Curtis was great. David Gordon Green did take some risks. It is a different movie. I just don't agree that they did it well. But he's John Carpenter. He is the guy.
I have another hot take. I don't think Jamie Lee did good in Kills or.
Nah, she did well. You said this last time too, and I was like, what's going on?
I don't think.
I
again,
think
hot take. Really well.
I
don't think she did good in those movies. But then I also argue, like, how good of an actor do you really think Jamie Lee Curtis is? I think we're overrating her. But again, that's just me. That's just me, guys.
That is just you. I'm telling you right now. That is.
Guns pointed at me.
I will give you Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills. She was a little bit corny. I'll give that to you. But
I think even in this, remember I spoke about that scene with the pie and then other things. I don't know. I think I actually might have liked her acting more in H2O than this.
She was great in H. No, she was great in H2O.
I think I liked her acting more. I think her acting was better in that movie than it was in these last two. But again, hot takes, guy. Hot takes. If you guys don't agree, let me know what you think. I don't know. I'm being honest here.
Yeah, man, I don't know about that.
I feel like that John Wick meme where all the guns are pointing at me.
She's done a lot of things, and she was just nominated for something for.
I'm not trying to
all at once. What's that movie?
Apparently I love that movie. That movie was great, but that's a completely different movie, and then it gives her the freedom to not have to.
Okay, but you said Jamie Lee Curtis as an actress.
Okay, but watch that movie, and then we can have this conversation. Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay, there's a scene where a rock is talking.
Okay.
All
okay.
Right. Oh, do you understand? Right. Do you understand now?
Okay, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay. It doesn't mean anything. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that movie gives her the flexibility of basically acting like an idiot and it's still acting.
What about Freaky Friday? I'm not saying it.
Yeah, it's a Disney movie, no?
Yeah, but she's so great.
Disney movies are great, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the acting in Disney movies is amazing.
Okay, now you're trying to take that and justify. No, you're trying to take that and try to justify. Jamie Lee Curtis's acting as being terrible.
No. I'm just trying to say that that's not anything to be like to praise somebody about. And I would argue that probably her performance there was probably better than in Kills. Honestly, I think just her performance in Kills and Ends was really bad.
I mean, honestly, I think you need an appointment with your doctor. I'm just being honest.
I don't know, man. I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis did good in these last two movies.
Sign us off, man. Sign us off.
All right, guys. If you want me to be replaced by a different co-host, let me know. And with that being said, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Our Instagram is Well That's Horrific. Our TikTok is Well That's Horrific. Our Twitter is That's Horrific.
And wait, we got YouTube now. YouTube has handles, right?
Yes. Our handle is also Well That's Horrific on YouTube. Because if you don't...
Well, that's horrific. Peace.